Thank you. So the past few months, it's been busier than I had ever dreamed possible. Both our parents have been in hospital for very different reasons. One with bone marrow failure and starting chemo. The other arriving home from a few months away and having a massive heart attack and needing quadruple bypass. And that was just 2 weeks ago. I have the pleasure of having both my parents live with my wife and I, but we really wouldn't have it any other way. The other day, I was reflecting on just what's been going on, and I found a little bag of some photos and cards and different things. And I found this. My very first Weight Watchers membership book. I was 8. I was 32 kilos. I had fallen on one of my bullies who was beating me up at school, and he came to school the next day with his arm in a sling, saying that Damo's fat ass landed on him and he sprained his wrist. That created a foundation for what would be the next 35 years. What it did teach me though, and I didn't know this at the time, I was just a kid, but it also made me realise the importance of building a sense of community in people where they are safe. Growing up, I was always the inquisitive type. I'd try to work out why things worked, how they worked. It led to a lot of broken toys. If it had screws and could be soldered, I'd done that. Me with my very first pair of headphones. And I wasn't much bigger than that when I first went to Weight Watchers. I don't know if any of you guys have experience with that, but at Weight Watchers they used to have a thing called the pig pen. And if you hadn't lost any weight that week, or if you'd gained any, you would stand in the pig pen and the rest of the people would oink at you. My natural curiosity evolved over time. And I always loved science. I loved working things out, doing all that sort of stuff. But as I got older, my weight increased. And, I would love to say that, I had some hero at school that came in and would protect me. Tash did, my sister did, but there was an age gap, so there was definitely time when she wasn't at school and I was. This was just before Kim and I got engaged 17 years ago. It's actually our 16th wedding anniversary today. So what better way to spend it than talking about something that, but it's okay. The only conflict that I have is whether to have a Long Island iced tea or a whiskey old fashioned, but we'll worry about that later. About 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And within about a year, I was on insulin. As my weight increased, so did my insulin levels until I was on 350 units of insulin a day. And my HbA1c was still out of control at over 14. My endocrinologist, she'd been wonderful, but she sat there and told me that the way I was going, I had about 5 years to live. She said that I needed weight loss surgery. I thought, cool, can you refer me to weight loss surgeon? And she said, no, we don't have funding for that. I was on Centrelink, I'd had a car accident, I had ruptured discs and all sorts of stuff in my back. And somehow, my amazing wife started crocheting blankets to sell blankets so that we could cover the cost of the private health insurance. And then we would take out our advanced payments from Centrelink and save them so that we could pay for the surgery. It was during this time that I began researching types of surgeries, surgeons, most importantly the costs, because for me that did matter. I knew there were fantastic surgeons with a lot of experience, but I couldn't afford that. I found an amazing general surgeon in my area, and he did a wonderful job. He did an amazing tummy tuck, which was even better. But doing that research, I'd get sent these cool little info packs that the surgeons would do up, and I even had one pack that arrived and it had lollies in it. Like, this is cool, But it really felt like a sales pitch. And for anyone that is living in a bigger body, living with obesity, we have been offered every pill, potion, and program known to man, from starting Weight Watchers at a young age to being a lifetime member of Jenny Craig. I'd done the shake diets, Atkins diet, soup diets, a blood type diet called Sure Slim, and even now the thought of flax seeds. Ugh. It's like 100 grams of flax seeds a day. Ugh. And that's why I didn't lose anything, apparently, because I didn't eat enough flax seeds. There were these tablets that my grandmother had bought off one of those late night infomercial things. They supposedly tasted like caramel, and she got them and realised she couldn't have them because they had dairy in them. So she gave them to me because she thought, well, you need to lose weight as well. And yeah, just chuck them in the bin. Anyway, I tried meditation, tried going to the gym, I tried screaming at my fat to go away. Even had a faith healer who tried to cast the spirit of gluttony out of. But what I really wanted was for something that had proven results. What I really wanted was to hear from my fellow Aussies about what actually worked for them. I went on to have the sleeve and I lost over 100 kilos. I've maintained at 117 kilos for nearly 8 years. What I discovered on my journey was that at the time and where I lived, there were very few allied health professionals that knew anything about bariatric surgery. My first dietitian I went to sat there on Google at the same site that I'd been looking on and started printing information off and then started crossing it out because she didn't agree with that and didn't agree with... So I didn't bother. I could Google it myself without paying $180 a visit to do it. The one thing that was available was social media. And over the next few years, I was able to admin a support group which had grown to around 11 or 12,000 members. The other thing that had happened was my sister had had revision to R&Y. It wasn't long before Bariatric Support Australia was born. Tash agreed to come on a journey with me to change the face of bariatric support groups because we knew that a lot of the health professionals didn't like the support groups, and there are still some that don't like them. They can be toxic, they give out bad information, whatever it is. We still get that pushback. But what we set out to do was to change the face of support groups in this country. We knew the need for people to be able to access the right information, but we also knew the power in what we now call the lived experience. And I'm so grateful for Alex and Sam for having a lived experience session. It's so important. The main rule that we introduced as part of our Facebook support group was kindness. We see other groups with all sorts of rules. Don't need them if people are being kind. And what was evident as I just said, a lot of doctors that didn't like it. We knew we needed to change that. We knew we needed to reach out to the surgeons, to the doctors, the dietitians, the psychologists, and everyone else. Exercise physiologists, so important, because it has to be a team thing. We would ask these allied health professionals to write blogs for us, and at first, a lot of them were concerned that they were going to lose business, but the opposite was true. What started happening was a bridge was being built, and some of those hidden mysteries were being revealed that, it's really not that scary. We're allowed to ask questions. The issue was that we didn't know what questions to ask. So again, Tash and I started asking our community, what are the questions that you want to know? What are the things that you didn't know going into this? I didn't know that at 6 weeks it would feel like I'd lost my best friend, which was food. I suddenly had no coping mechanism, no psychologist, no help. I was on my own. We had to create a space where people could come and get that help, even if they couldn't afford it. And it may have only been the help from lived experience, but you know what? Sometimes it's great to be able to follow someone out of that hole that you're in just because they've been there before and they know the way out. We've now grown to over 62,000 members in our main group, with 50,000 active every month. We have a recipe group with 22,000, a reset with 3,000, a plastics group with 5,800, a fashion group with 5,600 members, buy, swap and sell group. My favourite, we just started a GLP-1 group, which is really taking off. And my favourite is our dating group with 1,100 members. There are people that their relationships end and they end up wanting to, get back into the dating scene, but they might be self-conscious of all their excess skin that they can't afford to have removed. People that are walking that same path, they get it. We've actually had people that met on our dating group and are now married, and I love that. Picture this, sitting in a doctor's clinic when two people start discussing your weight and talking about what terrible parents you're going to make because you're so fat. Or walking to school pickup and a parent saying to their child, this is why you can't have Maccas. Or you get home from another failed job interview where you were told you were qualified for the role but not quite the right fit. And what they meant by fit was physical fit. That is something that happened. Tash had gone for her 90th job interview and been rejected for the 90th time. And she rang me and I knew she was upset. And she said to me, I'm not going to go for another job interview until I've lost my weight. After losing 50 kilos, she was offered 4 jobs in 1 week. And I don't see that as a great achievement. I see the hypocrisy in that. A well-run support group isn't something to be scared about. To be fair, it is the internet and people will be people. But what we ask is that you partner with us to educate people, to support people, because the more education that is out there, the better equipped and prepared the patients are going to be.